Let me piece yourself back together now. What's your vision?
Welcome to today's series of Think Tank. Thank you for joining me, Samah, one more
you,
time. As you're aware, Samah, today we're going to be talking about purpose and meaning in life, how we can discover it and how we can fulfill it. So as we start today's series, let's start with a very basic question. Do you believe that life has any meaning at all to it, or because some people have the view that life really has no meaning and no purpose?
Of course, Amira, we all need to know that life is meaningful, and not just life in general, but that our personal lives are meaningful. To keep themselves going, people need to know that the routine activities of life are not useless and the trivial pursuits. For if the contrary is true, life would truly be absurd and without any reason to live for. So why would someone live without a reason to? Those who do not experience meaning, either directly or indirectly, may find themselves in a meaningless existence, facing depression and eventually death.
Right, and Samah, you're aware that there are many people who spoke about the topic of meaning and purpose in life, and you and I discussed a few examples prior to this episode. So could you share one person that really inspired you about this topic?
Sure. Recently, I was reading a book for Viktor Frankl. He was a Jewish psychiatrist imprisoned in Auschwitz, the German death camp. During the Holocaust in World War II, he watched countless friends and loved ones tortured, gassed, and humiliated like animals. He sought to understand the meaning of it all. From this experience, he wrote a book titled Man's Search for Meaning. His conclusion was that those who had meaning in life had different attitude towards the abuse and the suffering. He observed that his fellow inmates who had a future reason to live for, such as family, kids, personal goals, remained brave and unselfish. Others behaved in the bitter fight for self-existence, forgetting that there are humans, and that they forgot their dignity and became no more than animals.
It's a very powerful story, Samah. And so basically they found meaning in someone or something outside of their pain. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, this is what I mean. It could have been a special career or a daughter or son, whatever it was. It resembled their future goal. He quotes Nietzsche, who says, "He who has why to live for can bear with almost anyhow."
Wow, that's a great quote. Was that Franklin who said this, or
No, Nietzsche.
Nietzsche? Can you say it one more time? It's very powerful.
He who has a why to live for can bear with almost anyhow. For those who could not find this future goal to live for, he writes, life for such people became meaningless.
Wow. So what is Frankl then calling his readers to do in this book, Samah?
Frankl is calling his readers to realize that there is existential vacuum, a sense of emptiness, and to fulfill life's meaning by closing the gap between what one is and what one should become. Every person is needed in this world to do a certain thing and be the person who can only do this particular thing. In other words, each one of us can fulfill the role only given to us, and no one else can do this for us. Whether you are a brother, friend, son, father, writer, thinker, artist, player, evangelist, it's only me who can do that and to be that. No one can take your place if I do not do, and if I do not become the person I have to be, it won't get done, and the relationships would be left wanting.
Wow. So what you're saying, Sameh, is that we are basically irreplaceable and there's something that only we can fulfill. So then that means we must step up to that responsibility. Would you like to add anything else to Franklin's response to meaning in life?
Yes, I want to actually add that Frankl was a psychiatrist, and he used his experience in the concentration camp to develop the discipline known as logotherapy. Logo means reason, which renders the translation of the term to be healing through meaning. It is a school of thought that is used to cure many psychological issues like depression by leading it to find meaning in life, or the reason to why we should stay alive. So terrible as it was, his experience in Auschwitz reinforced what was already of his key ideas. Life is not primarily a quest for pleasure, as Freud believed, or a quest of power, but a quest for meaning. The greatest task for any person to find meaning in his or her life, Frankl saw three possible sources for meaning: in work, which is doing something significant; in love, by caring for another person; and in courage during difficult times. Suffering in itself and of itself is meaningless, but we give our suffering meaning by the reason we live for.
Absolutely. And Sameh, you mentioned that life is not primarily a quest for pleasure, and we know that King Solomon, for instance, also wrote about this topic. In his whole life, he pursued a lot of pleasure. He did everything he wanted. And what did he discover?
He discovered that after living life with so much fame, fortune, wisdom, blessing, and relationships, Solomon laments in the most of his ancient writings that all is vanity, meaningless, and worthless.
What was the purpose then of life for Solomon if at the end of the day he discovered that everything has no meaning? What was he calling his readers to do?
For Solomon, God was the meaning. God is like the sun, and when we run away from him, we run into our shadows. Thus, if we do not enjoy life in the light of God's presence, everything loses its shine and meaning. For Solomon, life is meaningful because God exists and has created a specific purpose for each life. We are designed and created for purpose which can be known. One of our greatest purposes is to know God and to love God very intimately, and to know that He gives meaning to everything else.
Indeed, Sameh, we are God's workmanship, as Paul the writer said, and we are created for works that were established even before this world came to be. So can you imagine that? Before the world was created, there was a purpose for you and me.
Suddenly piece yourself back together now. What's your vision?